Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Welcome to Tax Time at YouTube episode. All YouTubers have to pay taxes. Not quite that simple. I've seen a number of articles, number of videos about that topic. We're going to dig just a little bit deeper into the subject because it's not quite that simple. This is one of many headlines that made the news here in the Philippines. And I've been doing some research and found lots of articles over the years about YouTubers need to be paying taxes in different countries. For many of us, vlogging is more of a very expensive hobby. The cameras, the equipment, all the other expenses involved in producing computers and everything, software, everything that you need, adds up very quickly. Where the income, there are a few people making some very good money out there, but many of us, the expenses continue to outweigh the income that comes in. But anyway, let's get back to the topic. I've had a couple small businesses myself in the USA. I've managed a couple of businesses, well aware of accounting, profit and loss, all that type of thing. And if vloggers are required to, even if you make $1, 1 peso here, if you're required to register, there are a number of factors to consider, and I'm going to get into some of that. I have almost always done my own taxes. Used some of the very software out there. Tax software in the USA is very, very good, and I've used that. Still use it, and I pay taxes in the USA when I have to. And if you are running any kind of business channel, even a hobby, it's very important that you keep very good track of your expenses and time, because just in case the IRS, the tax people from your country, come back to you someday and say, hey, we've noticed that you've got some deposits here. We want to tax you on those deposits to your bank account, and you need to show that you have a lot of expenses. That was not all profit. Now I'm going to cover some very important information, try to do it fairly quickly. If you don't know basic accounting, get yourself a good secretary. Get somebody that'll take good notes, keep receipts. One problem with receipts here is that the ink tends to vanish from the receipt in a very short period of time. Even though the receipt may say this is good for 5 years, it may last for 5 days. So try to preserve it. Take pictures of your receipts so you have it. Because deductions are also allowed, business deductions here in the Philippines. Perhaps the most important item here is that many countries, including the Philippines, have treaties with other countries so that you're not double taxed. You're not taxed on your income in one country and also another country. That would get very expensive. It would, many people just wouldn't do business in a second country. So, and add to that economy. Here from taxsummaries.pwc.com, Philippines, countries with which Philippines currently has double taxation agreements. There again, I'm not sure of exactly all the legal details, but Australia, virtually most countries have these agreements. Canada, Finland, Hungary, United States, Vietnam, UK, New Zealand, Mexico, Netherlands, and on and on. Covers pretty much everything. Mexico came into effect January 2019. Now, without being an accountant or a legal expert in this field, it basically means that like I pay taxes in the USA. Most of my income, most of the revenue, not necessarily income, comes from the USA. A little bit comes from the UK, from Australia, from New Zealand, Canada, all around the world, and a little bit comes from the Philippines. So you divide that up. Now I was in marketing and sales. Back in the early 80s, I think. I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I had a marketing sales territory that included most of South Dakota, a chunk of North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska. Now, South Dakota didn't have any income tax. But I had to pay tax. I had to file like 4 or 5 different tax forms, income tax forms for Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and I don't know if there's one more. South Dakota does not have a tax, income tax. Uh, so if it's possible if you're doing taxes, if you're doing business worldwide, like some of these big corporations, that you have to pay taxes in the various countries that you get revenue out of. Jump over to this site. One problem when you're doing research online is that a lot of the information is not dated, so it could be many, many years old. And you don't know how accurate it is as well. I'm getting this site moneymax.ph, and how to register your online business, pay taxes to BIR, Bureau of Internal Revenue. What happens often, all too often, is that there is information that comes out, and then there has to be a statement that comes out to clarify a lot of the confusion. BIR requires registration for all persons doing business earning income in any manner or form, specifically those who are into digital transactions. However, days after issuing the order, the government clarified that not all kinds of online sellers are required to register. Key point: exempted from the DTI, that's setting up a business name, which you have to do before you register, actually, I think. And you can do this online, DTI, are those selling products intermittently or irregularly, and those selling homemade items as a hobby. They consider such online sellers to be not in business yet, so they don't need to register. So if you're throwing up a YouTube channel, occasionally, number one, you're not making any money until you reach YouTube's quota on, I'm not even sure what it is. Is it 10,000 hours of watch time or whatever it is? You're not even reaching that level until you reach a certain level where you are starting to have some revenue. Therefore, you have to register your business if you're earning money regularly through any online means, even if your business is small. Covers not just online sellers, but also other people who make money online, freelancers, YouTubers, and bloggers. So go back to the last segment, and because you're covered under the dual taxation clause, the question, I haven't found a real good answer yet, is whether you're even required to do that registration. I don't know the answer, and I will seek the advice, the information from a lawyer and accountant who may or may not have the answers. I saw one blogger, they went to the BIR, Bureau of Internal Revenue, and nobody had answers. Nobody knew. They asked the first person and the supervisor and somebody up and above that person. Nobody knew whether the foreigner had to register his YouTube channel or not. Now, real quick here, before y'all YouTubers out there run down to the BIR office. As a proprietor, first you have to register your online business name first with the DTI before you register with the BIR. Good thing, it's easy and quick to apply DTI business registration online through the business name registration system. The BIR has no online registration system yet. One thing that this medical situation is causing is they're trying to upgrade their systems and trying to get to a point where they're doing more and more items online. So if you decide that you have to get a BIR registration, here's what you need. Accomplished the form 1901 Valid ID, birth certificate, passport, driver's license, etc. DTI certification of registration, that was the certification of your name listing. Annual registration fee and documentary stop. The business permit, mayor's permit is no longer required. You may be exempted from paying taxes. It's important to know if you are exempted. Under the train law, online businesses earning less than 250,000 pesos a year, 250,000 pesos is 5,000 US dollars, about at 50 pesos to the US dollar. Also, those making less than 3 million per year are exempted from paying the value added tax. So if you're selling goods, you don't have to collect that 12% value added tax. However, even if you're exempted from paying taxes in the Philippines, you're still required to register your business and file tax returns with the BIR. There again, does that just pertain to Filipinos, or does it pertain to everybody else who is spending time? Now, there was another article stating that those who are, and even many years ago, I saw the same figure several years ago. If you are in the Philippines 180 days, 6 months basically, that you have to register and report taxes if you're here if you're a foreigner. But there again, I keep go back to that double taxation treaty. If you're paying taxes in a previous country, you may have to prove that you're registered and paying taxes in another country in order to get out of these requirements. How much is the tax rate if you have to pay taxes? This is Pinoy website here, fairly current. And anyway, let's go down here. If you're working as a freelancer, let's go down here. The tax rates, graduated income tax rates under train as follows, as shown above. 8% fixed tax on gross sales or receipts in excess of 250,000. So basically, you are not taxed. If you make 300,000 pesos a year, you're only taxed on that amount above 250,000 pesos, 5,000 US dollars. They have, but you don't get to take any deductions. If you go by the tax rates, then you can take deductions. In my case, my deductions outweigh my income. So that's probably the direction I would go if that dual taxation clause doesn't really pertain, which I expect that it does pertain. Now, if you do not fall under the category of double taxation treaties where you are taxed in your own country, then you are obviously, and you should be keeping track of business deductions, obviously, because most countries probably tax these types of things. Of course, you have deductions, you have personal exemptions, depending upon the country that you're in. Anyway, business transactions. Let's see, let me zoom recording. All right, here again, this is from taxsummaries.pwc.com. And if you are involved in a business or practice of a profession and who opted to be taxed at the regular graduated income tax rates instead of the 8%. I don't know if that 8% is exactly current. Tax rates, tax law can change very quickly around the world. So anyway, very important, very, very important here. Very important. All ordinary necessary expenses paid or incurred during the taxable year in connection with the trade, business, profession, including raw materials, supplies, and direct labor. Wages and other forms of compensation for personal services rendered, including grossed up monetary value of fringe benefits, travel expenses incurred in the pursuit of the trade or profession. Business rentals, interest paid and incurred. So even interest if you have a loan. Entertainment, amusement, recreation expenses not to exceed the following ceilings. 0.5% of net sales of taxpayers engaged in sale of goods or properties. 1% of net revenue for taxpayers engaged in sale of services, including professionals and leasers. So you even entertainment expenses, if you're taking people out to a dinner, that type of thing. Losses, bad debts, other taxes, depreciation, charitable and other contributions, subject to certain limitations, research and development. In lieu of these allowable deductions, an individual other than a non-resident alien may elect an optional standard deduction not exceeding 40% of gross business and professional income. So very important for the Pinoys there. I hope that helped clear a few things up. I think that if you're a foreigner doing a YouTube channel in most countries, you're covered under the dual taxation, so that you're not taxed on the same income in two separate countries. I believe that's the case. For the Pinoys out there, I hope there's some information that would help you all out. And the fact that you're not taxed on anything below 250,000 pesos a year, that's good. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.